Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into just one word, but wow, what a word. Fascist.
Yeah, it's packed a punch, hasn't it?
It really has. It's become this like short, sharp, almost emotionally nuclear insult. You hear it everywhere.
Definitely. Thrown at cops, crossing guards.
Federal agents, sure, but sometimes even, other activists if they interrupt someone. It's wild.
It is fascinating how it's kind of detached itself from its, specific historical meaning. Now it's just a catch-all for authority you don't like.
Exactly. And that's our mission today, really. We're going to unpack this claim from our sources.
Yeah.
That most times someone screams fascist, they're not actually talking about, well, fascists.
Right. The sources have this great line, they're just slightly more organized than you.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And it often just boils down to something much simpler, like, you're not the boss of me.
Right. That seems to be the core finding, yeah. And it's not new either. That's what's interesting. The research calls it a reliable recurring theme in modern culture. Almost like a teenage rite of passage disguised as radical insight.
Teenage rite of passage.
Okay. Yeah, the pattern seems pretty clear. Someone says no, someone makes a rule, someone, heaven forbid, has a clipboard.
Uh-oh, the clipboard.
And the kid inside just goes, fascist.
That kid inside idea is really interesting. So how far back does this actually go, this calling the manager a fascist thing? What did the sources find about early uses?
Well, it seems even back in the 1920s, the 30s, you had some, let's say, fringe left circles already diluting the term.
Really? That early?
Yeah. They were labeling moderates, people who just disagreed on points, as fascists. The source compared it to high school cafeteria politics with worse fashion.
Okay, that paints a picture. So disagreeing got you the label, reading the wrong book.
Basically, yeah. Anything that didn't fit the approved line, it was more about defining who's not in the in-group.
Huh. And then there were the swing kids in Nazi Germany. That's a really striking example the sources bring up.
It is. These were teenagers, right? Loved American jazz, British clothes, hated the Nazi uniforms, and conformity.
So they called anyone trying to make them march or conform fascists. But was their rebellion, profound? Or just about taste?
That's the question the sources tackle. And while, yeah, their defiance was notable and their taste in music may be better,
Fair enough.
the research suggests, standing there with the sax isn't quite strategic resistance. It was more personal freedom, aesthetics.
That's some kind of deep political overthrow plan.
Right. Refusing to conform, definitely, but maybe not a full-blown movement in itself.
Okay, so the pattern continues.
Right.
Fast forward a bit, 1968. That era seems like a flashpoint.
Oh, absolutely. It went global. Students everywhere seemed to latch on to fascist as the go-to insult for, well, pretty much any adult over 30 with rules.
Any adult, seriously.
It got pretty broad. The sources give examples like, if you enforced a dorm curfew, you were the Gestapo.
Wow.
Grading papers, running a gulag, holding the keys to lock up a building at night.
Let me guess. Face of oppression.
You got it. The term got stretched incredibly thin. It covered almost any kind of everyday authority.
It's amazing how it pops up in pop culture, too, reflecting this. The sources mentioned Rick Miall in The Young Ones in the 80s.
Well, Rick, yes. The revolutionary in eyeliner and tantrums. Perfect description.
Yeah. He'd yell fascist
Uh-huh.
at anyone suggesting maybe, tidying up or thinking critically.
Absolutely. And the joke, as the sources point out, wasn't that Rick was actually resisting anything meaningful. He was just trying on rebellion like a pair of leopard print pants from Camden Market.
Trying it on, like a costume.
Exactly. Performative. And the scary or funny thing is that character's vibe, the sources say it's still winning arguments on Twitter.
Oof. Yeah, I can see that. Which brings us right up to today. Now it seems like the shorthand is tactical vest tyranny.
Right. So you see a masked federal agent maybe just standing there during a protest. It's not protocol. It's instantly interpreted as.
Incipient fascism.
Yeah.
And plotting a coup by just standing still.
That's the perception the analysis highlights. Anyone with a badge, a uniform, maybe who doesn't immediately validate your feelings. They're suspect. They're crime.
Existing in the same zip code as your feelings. That's another great line from the sources.
It captures that shift, doesn't it, from ideology to emotional reaction.
So if it's not usually about actual political resistance in these everyday cases, what's really happening? Why is it so common? What's the psychology behind it?
Well, the material strongly suggests framing it not as resistance, but as regression.
Regression, okay.
It's psychology, not politics. Things like boundary testing, identity formation, shrieking into the void, basically. Adolescence in full cosplay mode.
Cosplay mode, that's
Yeah.
quite a phrase. So it's less about challenging a political system.
And more about acting out personal development stuff we all go through.
Right. It connects back to maybe your own teenage years. Like the source says, you're not smashing systems, you're reenacting the time your dad said you couldn't go to the mall until you did your homework.
Exactly. It's that feeling of being thwarted, of being told no, a very personal, almost primal response to just discomfort.
So boiling it down, what fascist means today in these contexts? It's pretty simple.
Often, yeah. It means you gave me a consequence, or you didn't clap for me, or even you made a spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet. The ultimate tool of oppression.
Apparently. But seriously, it points to it being about discomfort, not doctrine.
This leads perfectly into that comparison the sources make. Fascist versus bourgeois. A field guide to screaming at dad.
Huh, yes. Two classic insults, right? The all-time favorite barbs hurled at dad over the dinner table.
They definitely feel familiar. So how do they break them down?
Fascist first.
Fascist is described as hot, loud totalizing. It's accusing dad of crushing your soul under his Costco slippers.
Okay. Vivid?
It implies he's the boot on your neck, even if he's just, asking for the TV remote. It's all about control. That's the complaint.
Right, control. And how does bourgeois contrast with that? Bourgeois is different. It's cool, sneering, French. You're not calling dad a dictator. You're implying he's embarrassing,
Yeah.
uncool.
Ah, the cringe factor.
Exactly. It implies you resent their comfort. You mock their linen shorts. Maybe you think ordering wine by the bottle is a war crime. It's not about control. It's about vibes.
Vibes. Okay. So one's about power, the other's about taste. Or maybe perceived complacency.
Something like that. But the sources conclude that fundamentally both are teenage complaints. Both are projection wrapped in pouty affectation.
The performance again. Seems like a running theme.
It really does. The research suggests many modern radicals aren't so much resisting actual tyranny as they are auditioning for a part in a drama no one else is watching.
Ouch. But the examples are specific, right?
Very. Like, the cop didn't shoot you, the librarian didn't censor you, the HR lady didn't gaslight you with her calendar invite.
Right. It's pointing out the gap between the perceived slight and the language used.
Exactly. The core issue identified is mistaking inconvenience for injustice, policy for persecution, and crucially, your mood for a movement.
Your mood for a movement.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It really centers the self in a way that maybe distracts from actual systemic issues.
It certainly raises that question, and it leads to the point about the word itself. Fascism is a serious word.
It has real historical weight, horrific weight.
Absolutely. So if you're using it to describe, say, the Starbucks manager who asked you to stop vaping inside, the analysis says you've kind of lost the plot.
Yeah, you're not fighting the power there.
You're rehearsing a tantrum. And that constant misuse, that trivialization, it erodes the word's power when you might actually need it for the real thing.
That's a really important point. The sources even gave that list, didn't they, of commonly misidentified fascists.
They did. It's quite relatable. Your high school principal.
Yep.
Your RA.
Definitely heard that one.
Your uncle who asked for receipts.
Yeah. Okay.
The lady at the DMV.
Uh-huh. Classic.
And of course, your mom when she asked about rent.
Oh, mom.
Yeah.
The ultimate authority figure for some.
Yeah.
It really drives home how this plays out in just normal life.
It does. It shows how common this slippage is, from serious political term to everyday expression of annoyance.
So wrapping this up, what we've seen throughout this deep dive is how this word fascist keeps getting used, often not for its real meaning, but more as a kind of reflexive cry against any authority or rule you don't like.
Yeah, less genuine political critique, more like a symptom of that ongoing adolescent pushback against boundaries.
It's about feeling restricted, maybe, or uncomfortable, rather than engaging with actual fascist ideology or actions.
Exactly. That personal struggle with rules, with being told no, gets dressed up in political language.
So the final thought for you, the listener. Next time you feel that urge, that heat rising when someone tells you what to do and the word fascist comes to mind, maybe pause.
Yeah, ask yourself that question from the source. Is this a revolution or is it just another episode of me being 17 forever?
And the source offers a spoiler alert.
Spoiler, it's probably the second one. And honestly, Rick's already done it better.